Okay, here we go. And let me just go ahead and, if someone can confirm for me that coming in clearly on sound, we can go ahead and get started here. Again, if someone can confirm that you can hear me in the chat box. Okay, so someone says loud and clear. And thanks, Will. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I obviously sent out this weekend a study guide, and you should definitely see that looks like this. And I sent this out. If you're a member of the Resistance, it will be in your mailbox. So if for some reason you don't have it and you're listening to today's show, know that it's actually in your mailbox. All you got to do is go and look up or type in your search engine Root Chakra Handbook or Root Chakra, and it should come up. So I'm going to start going through this very briefly, just well, not necessarily briefly, but just so you can understand the correspondences to the root chakra and how that works. So here's the cover page, and let's go to the second page here. All right. Okay. And right here, I said the energy of compression, and obviously you would have read this in the Chakra Yoga book that I sent out the previous week, which was obviously quite awesome. The Chakra Yoga book in itself is really all you really need. It's almost like if you just get that book and have to retreat after that, you can definitely do some massive stuff for yourself because it's straight out what goes on with the inner worlds and the outer worlds, how that affects you from an energetic level, especially what you eat, what you breathe, what you take in, and also the exercises that are necessary to cultivate these organs. Because remember, these chakras they're not even children yet. You have to really, really take care of your chakras. This is something that I really want you to know, that your chakras are your worlds. They're your seeds. So you have to defend, in a sense, if there's anything to defend your chakras from you. Meaning that it's still us. That's why we're waging this war on ourselves, because our chakra may say, no, don't drink the Pepsi. And then the Pepsi gets drunk. Then the immune system gets a hit, 60% down, the immune system goes. And then it stays that way for the next 4 hours. So there's a lot of key knowledge to exactly what you're doing with your system and how you're attacking your own world. And then this leaves you susceptible to the physical correspondences of those things to be able to attack you. So this is how you become harmonic with the reality, where you're not facing any attacks from the reality, is that you can't attack the reality. It's that simple. That's why the power is in every person's hands, whether they realize it or not. But that last part, whether they realize it or not, is a big thing. Realization doesn't come into a certain stage of development. And this is also what goes on with the chakras. A body develops the final 3 chakras, maybe. You see what I mean? It's not a guarantee that everyone has these high chakras. That's a development. This is like why you don't have other appendages on your body, that an echolocation and these kind of things, and they're active because they're in development. So what's supposed to develop those? Chakra. Chakra is the development of the powers and of the great beyond. I can't even tell you what the great beyond is like, because for everyone it's different. It's completely tailored to the organism. The organism is only supposed to stay in realization that all is self as you're flying through the fields of amazement. Okay? So there's no words I can compress into explaining it to you, because words are like trying to put an elephant in a straw when it comes to explaining this kind of limitless energy. So here we go. The energy of compression is the creative force underlying the material world, pulling particles together like building blocks to manifest the earth element. Okay? So this is a deep thing, because it talks about that this is the force responsible for pulling us together. Not just your physical body, but also on the dimension, the ones that perfect and balance the root chakra will bring the world together. Okay, so it's a big thing. It doesn't just happen to you on the inside. You become enigmatic at doing that on the outside world, right? So because you'll see verifications of if your activation is working properly. It's a vivid thing. There's no placebo here, okay? So this gravity and the controlling of gravity gives you the ability to not only buffer your chakras, meaning send magnetic energy around your chakras to allow them to spin, allow other people's chakras to spin, but it also gives you the ability to trek the tunnels of time, meaning that time, what we know as dimensions and realities, are all separated based on what we call time and gravity mainly. And so when you start tampering with time and gravity, that's a time machine. So also realize that you are in the world, whether you know how to do it or not still, but you're in a world with beings who know how to do time travel internally and externally. Okay, because there's no way you're going to have very large magnetic devices with counter-rotating pieces of metal made out of rare elements spinning around rapidly enough to not cause a rip in space-time through energy signatures, meaning that all the devices that are capable of going beyond through time and ripping, or going through time, are ripping time. So in a sense, they quirk and they go through the womb again. So this is something that can't actually be done by one individual or one organization continuously without destroying a world. Everyone must go together, because when the womb gets the signal that everyone has left the womb, or that there's been an exit in the womb, then the womb goes into dormant phase and regeneration phase, just like a woman's womb. When had the child, now once the signal of the body says, okay, the child is out, then there's a whole nother, then the mother goes into regeneration, the womb shuts down. So anyone that is still, or anything that is still inside of that womb, when it shuts down, it ain't going to be the place to be. That's why I was saying, more than anything, you just need to understand the sexual nature of how you got here, and read that as the most holy, sacred text, to realize that you're going to go in the exact same cycle, but the complexity of how you realize, the great detail of how you realize this cycle is your consciousness while you're going through the cycle. Meaning, the more you're aware of what's really around you, you can get what you need, not just from a shard of grass, but from yourself. See, notice how anything that we go and get external, it's like looking at a greater than and less than chart. Everything external is going to be on the less than side. You're only going to start getting into the greater thans when you start dealing with yourself. So that's what creates the netherworld. All of this, what we need to do to get back to who we really are, is the netherworld. And this is why there's all these external substances and things that one has to ingest and things as they're getting themselves back to balance, okay? And then once they achieve this is the merging of two sides, the masculine and the feminine, the hot, the cold, the black, the white, the ill, the ill and the great, the strong and the weak. All these, when you start being able to utilize them to strengthen you, like if I see a person's weakness, rather than getting sad and downtrodden, I get strengthened to want to be strong enough to ensure that kind of thing doesn't have to continue to happen. Every time you see someone's benefit, you know, all of these things, you go back over the system. It's like you scanning yourself and saying, okay, let me go back into another state of thought. So let's get in my primordial thought, and let me build from there. So that's what the Muladhara chakra is. So let's see the next page here. And let me get to the next page here. I have a brief write-up here about basically what I just explained to you, but I also wanted to show you the directory, because that's how the pages are listed. So there's effects of the root chakra. This is when the chakra is open and when the chakra is closed. The body parts, meaning what body parts correspond to this chakra? Sound, shape, and color. This means the sound, shape, and colors that best correspond to the chakra. The age. That means the time in which the chakra is developing. The gender, force, and meditative direction. This means primarily what direction is the chakra to be thrusted in, its propulsion, its inertia that you give to it, because and when it's balanced, it's perpetual. But just like you see in this world, the reason why they say nothing is perpetual is because everything needs some kind of inertia. I mean, it needs to push it one time. No problem. We'll exert that little bit of energy rather than exhaust ourselves with not having the energy activated. You need to know how to push this chakra on the mental and the physical level, so that way it activates it. And then we have, I need to switch my view here. We have tarot and rune, meaning that there is still a great deal of knowledge within these systems. And if you understood them from this perspective, they actually render a lot more insight than they do from the occult perspective. Let me see here. Page display. Come on. Enable scrolling. There we go. Okay, and there's plants and crystals. Obviously, there's going to be a correspondence to each chakra on every single level. So this is covering the plant kingdom and the element. The mineral kingdom. And you see here sustainability and repair, which means, if you need to deal with the chakra, if you're already not flying, levitating around here, you feel the thrust coming out of your butt. Basically, that's what it feels like. It feels like a hearth beneath you, and you're in the meditation. All of a sudden, it starts getting, depending on how much Eastern or Western Kundalini you have, either very cold or very hot, and then a thrust comes underneath you, right? So we'll get to that in a minute. Open and balanced versus closed and damaged. So we'll go through these. Security, insecurity, okay? Secure means confidence, being stable, like it basically wherever you are, nothing will move you. This is the vision of the old man, and one day we're going to get some visuals to this. The old man, and he's sitting there, and there's this giant screaming and rushing at him. And the old man, there was a game like this, and he would just sit there until you got up on him, then because there's no need to be back there like because when the actual hit needs to happen to you in falsehood to knock it out, you need to be focused. So this reminds me of maybe some people remember the Mike Tyson's Punch Out. And there was a character, Ball Bull. It's all still symbolic. And Ball Bull will come in, boom, 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 boom. And you had to time it right to hit him in the stomach. So it's a metaphor then. Because your timing right of what you're doing with this energy center and how secure you are in it is going to determine whether Ball Bull gets knocked out. And that there's a new Lord that's set up, and this Lord is just, a just governor. Meaning that inside of your body is all the masonry and all this stuff. It's supposed to go in here. You're supposed to go in there and say, oh, okay, we're taking that king, that Lord, that ball, that part, that generator out. And we're going to put this in, and we're going to rewind it, we're going to retune this. Remember, don't get rid of anything. Regenerate it, restore. Think about it. It's kind of like what they're trying to teach in recycling. But it's if you have an object, and this object serves a specific purpose, and if it stops serving that purpose, but you can regenerate it and restore it and put it back into that purpose again, why keep changing it out for new parts and new services? You see what I mean? So this is what happens with your body and with your mind and your consciousness. You're not looking to throw anything out. You're looking to put it in its place so that it dissolves, okay? Because it will get eaten by what is to eat it. Like your past experiences of trauma can be eaten by a wise spiritual state of consciousness as knowing what not to do or to be. I'll never go that low, never get myself into that position again. I'll never be in that level of imbalance, because of my experiences, and that's my strength, right? So security and security. Loyalty. Okay? This is just, to me, integrity, because when you get into loyalty for others, if they're not balancing, you're going to be loyal to something imbalanced. So put all this inside. Don't sometimes look at society, but look at yourself. Integrity and loyalty to yourself is respect for yourself. Make sure that when you get in front of something that you know is going to decay, you're going to decay. You got this integrity that says, no, I can't decay. Like I can't, it does a measurement, because remember, everything that we get involved in life, even when you go outside, there's pollution and there's all these other things that decay the body. So it's also about, in this loyalty to self, is making sure that you reinforce. If you mess up something, clean up. Like don't mess up something and then leave the mess. Show the loyalty and the respect for yourself to clean the mess. You see what I mean? Don't wallow in the mess. So there's also the being shallow. This means nothing matters. Halfway doing things, not really watching. Look, and clean up the stuff off the floor. Like, make stuff straight. Show that you're awake and you're actually here. You're looking. You're alive. Okay? So stability. Okay? Stability is a big thing because root chakra is about other things standing on you. Remember, all the other chakras still got to be built. So all your concepts and ideas of what you're to do in the future need to be built based on this foundation that you're developing now. So those are the kids then. And they don't get a chance to be born until they get a place to stay. And so you're going to build this, make it stable so that other things can actually build on top of it. So you can see closed and damaged chakras, they give a frailty to where the person is extremely sensitive, and this comes off as emotion. So this means the moment you say something that hits that chakra and it's on that chakra's level and it's not what they want, because remember, emotion is the receptor for all chakras. But these emotions are very based. It's like happy or sad, basically. It's either one or the other. Happy, sad, angry, joyous. Those are still four. They basically still are either one kind of energy or another kind of energy, right? You need to learn how to use both of the energies. This is what makes this complex, because most people will tell you, oh, no, you just get rid of the negative. You're going to get rid of the roots then. That's what you're going to do, because remember, just like what we talked about, the roots are the past, the experiences that some of them we didn't like that actually told us why we shouldn't do something again. So if we want to get rid of it, guess what? Repeat. It's going to happen again. We're going to have to go through it again. So you need to gather more than divide this kind of energy from you. So let's keep going. Generous. Generosity. Man, this is definitely a chakra that needs to be worked on with most people, because there's so much use taking place from the external world that some people, they're locked up on giving. They feel like, shoot, if I give anything to anyone else, then shoot, I'm not going to have anything for myself. Okay. You're on one side of the chakra. I feel you. So give to yourself then. That's what I was saying. You don't always have to look externally. Are you saying giving to you, or are you saying giving to you? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is give to yourself. Do something for you that's integrity really involved with you. Find truth and then say, truth, what is really good for me? You need to clean. Like, you don't even let the Toyota, the Ford Taurus out there go with not changing the oil filter. Like, I've been without an oil filter since I was born. I still got milk oil plaque, Similac with iron sitting right in my intestines. Never going to Elysium. Elysium would only be another element, right? Elysium, magnesium, calcium, IUM means an element, right? So this is the riddle. Elysium is an element that actually sustains the body as if it's in paradise. That's Elysium. They'll realize who I am. Longevity. See? Longevity. Maybe in the future they'll realize who I am. Sometimes it takes a long time. When you're on a cog of time and you're on the lowest one, this one is cool though, because you don't want stuff flying at you too fast. And I know I'm going to have to watch my battery power here. I may need to get some more battery power because this may cut out on audio. And I'll just keep my window open here. But you want to be flying too fast. And like I said, a quarter horse run fast, don't run long. You don't got longevity. Guess what? Guess how long this is going to be? Forever. Infinite. See, these kind of words scare people. They're like, are you serious? I mean, expansion is forever. It doesn't stop. There's this thing that you can do is called go to sleep. Then you dream. So it still doesn't stop. But it's like a subconscious state. You have less control. They call that a matrix. You don't have control over most of the functions. Something is autonomously doing that for you. You don't really think that you have to breathe. It's on auto. That's instinct. When you're completely unsubjective in the subjective plane, bodhisattva, messiah, whatever, dolphin face, then every single ability that you have that you're utilizing, you're conscious of. Right? That's a lot of responsibility. But it's not a lot when you're pushing off 5 million kilojoules, meaning that if something wasn't constantly sucking your energy, you could feel omniscience. The only stage that I'm talking about is omniscience. It's being able to be aware of everything that's happening at one time at no sweat. You're breaking no sweat. You're not using English, though, trying to itemize everything about what's happening. So let's keep going, because you're going to need some stamina. Because remember, this constipation, because we got to get onto that other side too. This is a constipation, not being able to move the energy when you're this phenomenal being and you're constipated because the reality doesn't want your phenomenalness, right? So these are all signs of a blocked chakra if you haven't yet been able to release yourself into this reality, right? And to show this world who you really are. Like, are you just going to let these folks kill you? You're just going to die here, right? You're going to get old, crumpled up. Then, you can't learn anything. Then, man, fight back. Woman, fight back. Meaning, phi to the back. Okay, let's change up the meaning of everything. Let's use it as our power. Phi to the back. No more division. No more spirals. Right? I'm dizzy off this. Oh, okay. I'm dizzy. Let me get myself in good bearing again, right? Let me figure out where I am. So remember, all this is connected to your root chakra because this is about your passion. Like, what makes me sit here and do this for 4 years? I'm still ain't here. It's something new. I'm jabbing away. Like I said, the bull, I'm still pulling the load. I'm picking the John Henry through. I know we're going to bust through the whole side. We bust through the whole side, come back around to the front again. And like, what are these guys, crazy? Are these people crazy? They already brought emancipation. They're going around again. We're going around again. We come in even stronger, open up the hole even bigger. The world must be free. So what is it? Stamina, right? We've got to have the ability to get in there. And a lot of this also is integral with the physical body. So some of you guys sitting around wondering why there's no movement in the hand and you feel all sleepy, because you got to get the blood moving. Like, that's another part of what we're going to do with the Muladhara Chakra. We can take the cameras downstairs. I'm going to show you some simple stuff on how to get this area built up, because this is the area that builds up and cultivates the hormones for male and female. So simple movements in these kind of squats, when building these areas, it builds the fluids. And so this is also engaging, because remember, you can't take a bunch of these supplements and then just expect it to sit there and do all the work. No, the push that's necessary for something to be perpetual must occur. The inertia. The fifth element, per se, is you. You have to get in there and just boom. Okay, I'm gonna take this initiative and start getting this thing started up. Then work with it, because obviously it's not been turned on in a long time. It's like an old jalopy. And then once it starts turning on, then everyone's turned on. It happens. It's catchy. It's like people say, I want that kind of energy. It's here. Like, it's no placebo. But anyway, let me calm down, because you can't be all crazy when you're trying to do the shows. Like, I got to get out in the forest and run around and stuff after the show sometime. But balance is key, because you have to be able to see what it can be and what it's going to take to get there. You can't be one of these individuals that only want to enjoy when they're there all the time. They want to eat. This is like the rat with the pleasure button. And push the pleasure button. Push the pleasure button. Oh, yeah, it feels good. Only this, only this, only this. And you take your bitter medicines, right? Your himbes and those kind of bitter herbs that actually get the body into not wanting sweets. It starts, because there's a whole system you got to do with your body. It's like once these ones that eat the sweets, they start overrunning everything. They start sending into your consciousness this, very lax thoughts, very lack of conductivity, all these kind of things. You need strong, powerful acids. I remember, acid is not always a negative thing. If somebody say, "Oh, you need to be alkalinic," you need to be alkalinic. Too much alkaline or not the right kind of alkaline is the same thing as too acidic, not the right kind of acid. Because when you take certain supplements and you put the acid and the alkaline together, you come up with this perfect pH balance. So remember, this is also what you're doing. You got to get both of the elements. Just don't eat the sugar all the time. I love it, I love it, I love it. Be ready to get in the trenches and go and do something. That's why working out plays a big role, because you don't got to go and get involved in something and too deep into the reality to already weather yourself so that you get stronger. Because when you work out, obviously you get tired. I mean, you can make it fun, and that's when you turn the energy around completely, and you start seeing that in the reality. Things that are hard to do become easy and fun to do. So keep going, just stay focused, and remember that these chakras close equal then potency. This is the weakness of the man's seminal fluids to the point where, and even the female's spinal fluids to the point where you can't stand erect, right? Remember we talked about she legit and these kind of things. Get those minerals back in your body, because for the first time in history that we can remember, we now have obese, malnurtured people. Obese but malnurtured. There's no minerals in the food, but they're still getting fat because they're holding all the water and the salt, right? So think about what's going on. Then you got constipation. This is not having regular bowel movements. This lets you know a bowel is really doing what his job is. Task, bowel, beat, bowel. Like this is the same, it's metaphoric of how you when you drive a bovid, every now and then you have to hit it with the whip. Like, come on, if there's other ways, but let's just think directly at what we're talking about here. Bowel must be ridden. He's a beast. It's a beast. It's not a he or her. Excuse me. It's a beast. It's a generator. It must be rode, right? So if you are not regularly moving, that means that it's not working, right? So you want to have at least two. At least one in the morning, but never 2-3 days are going by without a bowel movement. You have to. It's not, think about it. It's not going anywhere. It's not disappearing. It's not disappearing. It's going somewhere else, and it's turning black, and it's getting tight, and it's rotting. And that's what's making it so small, but it's becoming small and then hard. And then this gets lodged into you. This is what makes you a Saturnalian. Because then you have all these dead particles all in the body, so you can't feel anymore. Your filters are clogged. So if all the chakras are eyes, there's dirt in the eye. So everything that you see is distorted. You can't see how things really are. So this is what happens. And if you haven't cleansed, it's happening to you. Trust me, the ego will have you at a point like, well, man, so this is what's happening to people. So this is this is what's happening to other people. It's a kether. This is, I call it ego. It's a kether god. He just sits up there and talks about the whole thing. Doesn't want to do anything about it. It's like, yeah, this is crazy. It's you in there. This is what even this masonry, these men didn't understand. You're building for Pharaoh so he can enslave your children. Don't think your children are going to escape. They think their children were going to escape because they were in a perception that there was freedom. When they freed the slaves, it was one of the biggest psychological trips for everyone, because they say, now everyone is free. America is free. No. What they did is they made those Serbs, those Polish, those Irish, those Scandinavian, all those Caucasian or melanin recessive people in the United States believe that America was about freedom. And then they went into slavery too. They were already in slavery, but they went into a deeper level. They went in man in the machines. Like I said, my career. Oh, those inner city people. Oh, we're going to build a better future for who? It's now. Like future is now. So what kind of future did we build? Are we still waiting? Because that's the other thing. They say, oh no, it's coming. We're developing it. We're just moving over these humps. Man, this could be done in a day. Don't let these people play with you. Let me see what's up on my microphone here. I'm still going to keep checking it. But don't let these people keep playing with you. This can be done in a day. It's catchy. It's a vibration. It's a tone. It's a frequency. The world's system, organic grid is broke. And it's broke because it's broke inside of us first. There's a disconnection taking place. All that system of the Ouroboruses that need to eat each other to fuse the DNA is broke. The DNA is broke. So to actually regenerate it, all it needs to do is see itself in perfection. So that means the only thing that we need to do, what you do will change this world, because what you admit, not say, this is secondary. This is low on the totem pole, the mouth. It's what you feel, what you're sending out. That's what's most important, okay? So we're going to keep going here. The body, the nose, okay? The Muladhara chakra is connected to some of the most primordial senses, okay? So when you're looking, the knowledge says that an animal can sense you from miles away. It can sense your fear. Okay, because this is a primordial sense, so this is connected to the animal. This is the beast that we're talking about. A burden. He carries the load. It carries the load. Okay? And then, for people who hear me say he a lot, remember I'm talking about she too, because he or he in Hebrew actually means female. Go look it up. So anyway, that nose, okay, in that sense, right, that primordial sense, right, that's that Sophionic sense, right? That was Sheba, the queen of Sheba, right? Let me show you how the metaphors run together. Queen of Sheba had this hoof foot. You got to read it in the Testament of Solomon. Solomon wanted to figure out if she had this hoof foot, so he made her walk on glass, and he figured out that it was true. It's all a metaphor. Because the queen of Sheba, Bel kiss, meaning the Lord kiss, right? Kiss, the heart, right? Venus. This is all the whole Sheba lore. Sophia, Holy Ghost, okay, is connected with Hathor, the horn female goddess, a female with horns. That's why they say the old non-domesticated auroch has horns as a female. Taurus, 7 stars, Pleiades, okay? That's the womb that all life forms are going through. But let's talk about that womb, that matrix, that matter, okay? So here we keep going. The nose is where the senses is. The large intestines, okay, that's where most of everything is being processed. Okay, so this is the processing station for what you put in first. So this is what has to have the right vibration, because the vibration is what shakes it through the tubes, right? So that it goes through its process. Because even what we're eating, if we're eating the right thing, is going through a process through us. It's going through its manifestation too. Like, somebody say it's just not thinking. Last time I checked, thinking was how you free flow the energy rather than lock it up. But I'm going to keep going. Obviously, the anus is connected. But I even have this internal anal sphincter highlighted here because that is the muscle that you're squeezing that shuts the valve that's generally open when a person doesn't have ground. Okay, when a person does not have ground and they're weak in the legs, it's because this area is open all the time. So thus, things from the lower areas, stuff you sit on, you're always sitting on something, somebody's chair, somebody's seat, all the essence of that just goes right up into the body. So those who know about the Mula Bandha, know about those different techniques, know that this area has to be to a point where it opens and closes, but it stays by default closed, right? Okay, so that's the higher levels of power. Because when it's closed, all the energy is storing. It's building. And then you open, release. That's levitation, right? You start floating off of things. And remember, it's a downward force. It's not flying off. Fly off. No, thrust off, okay? That's gravity. That's understanding how to come into juxtaposition with gravity, etc. We're going to keep going. Cymatic shape. I went and got him. Like ball, sometimes looks like this in the energetic balance form. Okay, this is the cymatic, 535 hertz. Okay, this is the harmonic. So for those saying, well, I thought it would be a low frequency, this is the harmonic. So it's up on the lower scale of the higher harmonic. Color. Okay, obviously we see it as red. There's supposed to be some yellow there. Make sure we get that in the update. We're going to keep moving through this. The age of development. This is a very important part. Because remember I explained to you, the first chakras, there's like a given. That's your lot. Okay? Meaning that it's a given. You get your genetics from who? Right? Parents, biorhythm, universe. Right? You get it from there. So that's given. That's your lot. That's your inheritance. That's why some people are lost in their inheritance because they think the inheritance is more this fiat currency. Your inheritance is the knowledge. And from there come forth all things. So you see the age of development, though, on this chakra is 1 to 4. Because some of the earlier chakras are already inherited. You've already inherited the world, Lord. That's what's being said. So you're the child, but your experience through this 1 to 7 years old is going to determine a lot about what you feel about this world and how you deal with energies and all sorts of things, because this is your physical foundation time. And this is not only where, but why there is so much of an intent put by this reality from a negative level to do things with the children. And it's because once they start breaking down that root chakra, they can go back into that later on, meaning that once they cut holes into the root chakra, this is what mind control does. It burrows a hole into the chakra, inseminates something, burrows out, and then leaves it there for triggering later on. And this could be anything from something you're watching on TV to experiences you're having with family members to all types of things. Like everyone knows the ramifications of what happens to children in this world. But what happens is that never goes away. So they build the foundation, so all the perception of life, and it's not just negative, there's positive things that happen to children when they're younger too. But those perceptions of life are developed at that point. So this is the same thing what you're doing now. You're going back through a rebirth. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself the opportunity to go back through the womb again. It can never hurt. The last thing I want to do is come back into another world again and not know where I am. So if I could take myself through these processes and I start learning how to take myself through these regeneration, rebirth processes, start pulling in, as the guy was telling me, the indium from space again, right? Maybe that's where it's really connected to. I start pulling in that indium, I start regenerating, I start not getting scared of the regeneration process and the death, burial, resurrection processes, right? Then I'm starting to do it so fast, I start imploding. Then we all go. Meaning that everyone expands. And then trust me, all this will happen simultaneously while others are ready to go and others are already at the point that they figured it out. It'll all coalesce. It's not something that it depends completely on me to do. It depends on all of us. So here's the thing. Next page here. Gender is masculine. And the reason why is because the next chakra is feminine. And this is about how to oscillate both of the poles, because you're going to collapse the Manipura into this chakra, right? When you understand how to do it. So, again, it's still all sexual in a certain tense, but you're interlacing these two triangles right here, boom. And then you're creating a fractal implosion that reverberates throughout the rest of the body, right? So the meditative direction is downward, meaning the downward thrust. It's red. Instead of thinking Illuminati, it's a downward triangular thought, meaning that sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch merged into mind, body, soul merged into one thrust. 3, 2, 1, I'm gone, right? Some people ask me a question about the kid, him holding up the mudras. And funny part about it is I actually didn't see that completely when I did upload the picture. But then I know that mudra is a mudra. And so that hand symbol is a mudra. The whole relationship with society and them doing it is the same thing as all. They're fools. They're exoteric. They don't even understand what they're doing. They're still playing in the fool card, right? So that symbol happens to be the mudra for digestion. Look it up. I already sourced it on the link of the page. So if this connects to digestion, let me show you how deep the knowledge is. If that cornuto sign connects to digestion, it's because the exoteric thought is that Baal or the Baals is the god of hell or the devil, of the one who's in the hot area. You see what I mean? So you just have basically people looking at the knowledge and not even interpreting it right, but taking some things and interpreting it right and taking other things that are not right and then making this hodgepodge. But that's what I was saying about this kind of knowledge is sacred. It's internal within you. And then you know what does because you put it to use, right? So this is about defeating gravity. This is about thrust. And, I'm going to take a break here just a second to take phone calls, but I'm not going to look at this battery anymore until I'm done with this, and hopefully, we don't have a situation. But the tarot, okay? Once again, let's go to this next image. And here in the tarot cards and the rune stones that correspond to this chakra, notice how in this particular deck, they do, to me, a really good job, but still encoded, at letting you know what all this is really about on a symbolic level of achieving activation of root chakra versus not achieving. And obviously, the fool does not achieve. And that's why I say, when you push back from the table and have you just glutton and ate all a bunch of stuff, I'm full. Indeed, you are. We've all done it. It's the Joker. It's the Jack. It's the Jester. It's all a game. Now, the thing about the Joker is you see the pack on the back. The thing about the Fool is that the pack on the back actually contains everything. That's why it's red. It's the fire. It's the root chakra. It's the Kundalini that is needed to allow the fool to make his transmutation. But he is walking, and this is again, he, she, into Phi. Notice in this tarot card, there is the shape of walking down the doors of time. If you pull the tarot card back, you'll see it's Phi. Okay? Look at it, the triangles going down the doors of time. But what direction? Deeper and deeper and deeper down the doors of time. Getting confused, lost in the wrong direction, rather than coming out of the portal altogether. Right? So that's what the symbolism is about with the fool. There's a lot more connections to that, but I'm not going to harp on it. The next, of course, is the magician. Now, this card is I'm not telling you to go and be a sorcerer, because there's a difference. This card is metaphoric for the stage that is reached. Notice the character looks female, but is connected and rooted, meaning it has established root, ground, kundalini, muladhara. Look, the serpent's even there itself, okay? And then thus is able to have the budding rod. The budding rod is being able to turn what is dead back into life. And also the sword of truth, which is the Caduceus, the balance of good and evil. And lots more things. I mean, you can sit and write a volume about just the card alone. But to get into the runes, as I explained earlier, the Thursas and the Urus, that these runes are symbolic to the root chakra as being about endurance, about generation of energy, as being about force and protection. That's what these runes mean. So we're going to keep going. Notice the plants in the sense, because this is the floor to the forest. In a sense, you find the musks, you find the resins as the sap drips off the trees. And you may want to change that picture. I'm not sure if it got changed yet. Actually, maybe that may be a cue to... Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about the plants and the scents and the crystals. And again, the forest floor, meaning that this is the musk type smell. This is the hearth. You know, when you go into grandma's house, grandpa's house, there's always this smell that will never go away. And even time you get something from grandma or grandpa's house, you put it in your house, then your house starts smelling like that. What is that? That is the cultivation. That is the actual essence, okay? So a lot of the plants in the sense that connect to the root chakra have to do with the musk, the frankincense, the oaks, the teak, the myrrhs. So these are the kind of smells that stimulate that. And likewise with the crystal, it's always the breed of the crystal in this time where it is containing a great deal of mineral deposits. So that ranges from smoky quartz all the way to jasper, to garnet, to rubies. All these kind of stones contain the energy that is of the root chakra. As we continue, we're going to the plants and the elements. You see here that the planet is actually Mars. And the reason is because obviously, and it can get very confusing here if you confuse the term Earth for actually the planet Earth, because, you know, that's always how those metaphors start to bang against each other. But the planet is Mars. And the reason is because obviously Mars is a very fiery planet. And in fact, they say that the lord of the system, who's very warlike, very fiery, is of Mars, okay? So the root chakra is about putting the Martian state of consciousness into a position where it becomes most constructive, meaning that the fiery state of consciousness must be transmuted into burning up toxins rather than creating quarrels and being angry and causing fights and these kind of things, or causing Phi, these kind of things. Again, the inverted pentagram is the symbol of Phi. 72 degrees times 5 is 360 degrees. This is a perfect circle or a wheel or a tarot, meaning to rotate. It is the wheel of the dimension that things are rolling on, okay? And so this is also how everything else in the higher state of consciousness is getting around. So next time when you ask yourself, is this what the universe really wants? Maybe you don't understand the universe because you can't think like the universe. And I'm going to show you something. Now, the universe is using all this as wheels. These are ball bearings, wheels within wheels, Ezekiel's wheels, if you may, right? So what happens in our state of consciousness is we have this whole good-bad thing going on. This is the primate hominid state of mind. It's always tempting to judge next what comes in front of it next. Thus, it never has an opportunity to focus, okay? So I'm going to save something for you in a minute. I'm going to tell you about some really deep stuff. But let's go first to repair and sustainability. In repair and sustainability, as we talked about earlier, you do have the Shilajits. You do have the Jing builders. Actually, this is really Ayurveda. Like when you look into Ayurveda, especially if you're dealing with like if you need to calm your mind, all these kind of things are dealt with through the plants. And this knowledge has been going on. Obviously, Ayurveda passed on to the Chinese medicine tradition, but it's very extensive. You will find that these remedies do work. But there's another thing here that I was able to find because somebody asked me about tones and vibrations after the last show. And what I want to direct everyone to is the site that I found called mynoise.noise or /noise machine. And you actually can get to that if you click on inside of your PDF, the red writing there, because it says by clicking here. And then if you click there, obviously Adobe's going to ask you, do you really want to go to that page? You select yes. You'll go to this page and it's absolutely free, obviously, and there's some high quality tones and vibrations from isochronic tones to intoning bodily tones, which was obviously a very prime thing to find because we were talking about that before, but site's done very well. And so then you can get an idea of how to harmonize yourself. And then some people say, well, how much does utilizing these external tones played over a radio do for me? Because you said in last episode that it's good to have the best carrier. That's right. So what happens is that when you're listening to the tone and you learn how to do that same tone with your own voice, you're the carrier. So that's the process. Learn how to harmonize or what you're even supposed to do, where this tone is supposed to even coming from, and then you use yourself because now you're using an organic carrier and tone up your chakra centers, right? Complete internal cleansing. That's our next page here. And we talked about that earlier. That is the methodical process of removing the toxins from the body. And so we've talked about this several times, so I won't even get into this very deeply, but it's a serious thing. Once you go through the cleansing, it's seasonal. Like the earth cleanses itself on a seasonal level. This is why there's seasons, okay? Different flavors, right? Because if you keep saturating the body with one state, it's always cold, it's always cold, it's always cold, it's always cold. It's always hot, it's always hot, it's always hot. You know, you can't, it's always wet, it's always wet, it's always wet. Your body doesn't work like that. So understand, your consciousness doesn't work like that. It constantly wants to keep metamorphosizing and evolving and experiencing different levels of its essence, the level of its being. That's actually what's brought you here today because the message is quite flavorful. It adds a lot to the actual states of your bodies and states of consciousness, something that you've learned to consume in itself, meaning that you actually do eat this message and it is wholesome. It fills the body. It nourishes you. So this is the thing that we want to do. This is symbiotic to me. Like I gain more knowledge by consistently saying every single day that I have to keep myself going and keep expanding and learning to assist other people. They're going to get it too. See, you don't have to always go into the whole trip about I'm doing stuff for other people, I'm doing stuff for other people. When you're doing something and it's actually really doing something, you're doing it for everyone. And that's why that's a given. You don't even have to think about, you don't got to get into that whole mind game. Get into that whole brain gym. Watch out for that. Watch out for the brain gym and emotion. I can't believe he said, oh my goodness, I love when you can't be doing that wrenching back and forth with your energy too much until you understand your energies, understand your position. You understand the calibration of the energies that are needed to cause you to be perpetual. Because when I'm actually delivering here, and I plan on accomplishing it, I'm going to be in the first, if there's none that are before me, is how to live a perpetual life. I never get old. I actually run the clock back a little bit. I always look like this. 100 years later, I'm still looking like this. Obviously, eugenics would have had kicked in by then, so it'll be an argument of whether I'm on eugenics or whether I'm actually sustaining this through the high level of spiritual consciousness, but you'll know the truth. And that's what I'm saying. It's about longevity. Put your roots in. Unpack your bag, right? Because think about it, the fool, he's got his bag on his back, so that's why she's not stable. Always I gotta go. I'm trying to find this place. I can't be here. So you can't lay all your stuff out then, right? Think about it, your stuff, everyone's been to this position, all your stuff in one bag or in the closet. You know, you're in some small place, your stuff's in the garage. How do you expand? First, you pull it all in, right? And that's what this rebirth is about, is pulling it all in. All right, come on, all you guys, all you fish lines that I put out there, everyone in. Let me see what you got. Let me see what you learned. I'm going to take all this in. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to say which one I want to do. I'm just going to get all the facts first. That's what we're asking you to do. Get all the facts first before you start making a decision and choosing whose side you're going to be on and all of that. Because you shouldn't be on a side. You should be in the middle. That's balance. So we're going to take a quick break. Then we're going to take some calls. I have to move the computer. The number is area code 585-653-6979. Give me about 10 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and change the batteries and get the thing booted up, and we're going to go ahead and answer some questions, and then I'm going to let you get on about your way today, and so you can enjoy wholeness. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take anybody who has questions, and you can call in at area code 585 653-6979, and we got one person already calling in. And if you can, just remember to mute your sound on your computer or just close the window so that way we don't get a reverb. Caller from area code 302, Wholeness, you are on Astral Quest.
Wholeness 7.
Awesome.
This is Kiara.
Hey, Kiara, how are you?
Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay. Where's my paper? I wrote my question down. Okay. So I read the book with the Chakra Yoga book. And there was an 11-day practice for breathing. I can't pronounce the name that it was called. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It mentioned that it should be done at a correct time for, especially if it's like the time of year and latitude and a karmic reactive cycle.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Okay. You know, I can only explain it like it's kind of like the layering process that I was talking about earlier, with how in your consciousness, you're at this stage first where you need to work on just even learning how to breathe properly, and learning how to actually get more in tune with yourself. And then at a certain point, you kind of get more in tune with the cycle of your body, like how you're feeling, especially every 30 days, how you're feeling every cycle of your body and what is your actual cycle and timing. And then once you find that, then you're basically timing all of your exercises, like when you're working on one chakra or another chakra, you're timing them based on the season of your body. So it's kind of like what I was explaining towards the end of the message, is that you figure out your own timing system, and then you go and you do your certain cleanses and things when you know that that part of your body is really what needs to be affected. Because you got to remember that with Ayurveda, how Ayurveda was discovered is it was discovered by individuals that were so in tune with their body that they could feel where this plant was actually going, like, oh, that affects the kidney, or oh, that affects the liver. So that level of being in tune with your body, also you feel, oh my goodness, I need to take out the toxins and purge the toxins. And remember, sometimes people can do this with breathing. Like the more subtle people can do it through breathing and visualizations, while the more dense person needs to do this through putting some kind of something into their body that actually removes the toxin on a physical level.
Okay. So it's so I would know when to practice this breathing practice depending on how I feel.
Right.
Right,
and it's basically based on how well you're actually feeling your body when you're going through the exercises. Generally, what you want to do is that if you go through, let's say, first of all, if you go through yoga, you go through a yoga session, especially an intense yoga session, when you get done, and then they do that cool down point where most people always fall asleep, you definitely in that zone right there get the first hint of what your body feels like when it's in complete harmony. So,
okay.
So this is what also is accomplished by breathing, is that you basically can get high on air. And then once you start learning how to get high on air, what yoga does is it lets you learn how to divert air into different pockets, and it gives you, in a sense, a different stage of this high state. Okay, we'll just call it high because it really is like you feel good, you feel like you're on something, you got energy, it's interesting. But the poses help you divert air into other parts of the body. So once you get into this, what I'm saying is yoga doesn't seem is boring, and meditation doesn't seem boring because it's almost like every time you're going in to see or develop a new part of your world. But you can feel this, so it's not just sitting down and like having to remain calm like Vipassana or something where you're going into more of a nihilism or you're going into a stage of just denial of yourself, right? And so remember, stages of denial for the body, and it's not necessarily my premium choice of method with everything, but stages of denial are like punishment for the body. Because you can bring the body, like first of all, let's say for instance, person says, I'm going to deny myself cake. But there's several stages that you have to go down to finally eat cake, let's say. So cake, just because it's not, cake is not healthy because of how it's made. But there are other things that taste like cake that are healthy. You see what I mean? So this is what I mean by getting back into your body and then figuring out the proper system to use. Like some chakras you're going to have to be bold with, like meaning that the lower chakra is bowel, so you're not going to be coming with flowers and, oh, ball, please, do what I need you to do. It's not going to be that kind of party. You're going to have to come in there with force. You're going to have to, the force, look, this is what you're not going to do anymore. Everything's going to be straightened up. Everything's going to be different from here. This is how you talk to yourself professionally. You're not going to, on a deeper intrinsic level, you're not going to do what you want to do anymore. You're no longer the king. You're no longer a ruler. We're giving you the edict today. Basically have your stuff out. If you want to stay for the metamorphosis, or if you want to agree to the metamorphosis, you can agree, but you're going to go anyway. So this is how you go into your body. And then you start knocking it down, meaning that it's very vivid for people. They know what they're eating. They know where the pleasure button is and what's causing all the pleasure. And then they know how to go right into it. But what process that we use here is that you have allies in this. You have Kundalini. You have, so you have Shilajits, you have the Jing builders. And why do I mention these as allies? I mention these as allies because we think at times, especially when we get deep into the root chakra imbalance, that we are doing this alone. It's only me. And the moment you pick up a glass of water, the moment you took a breath, you were already using really more of what's really real here. You see what I mean? Because people are fake sometimes. So you can't say people are as real as water. Because water, it doesn't matter who you are. If you drink it, you're going to be hydrated, right? So water is not hating and discriminating, so that makes water more powerful. So if you were doing it alone, then when did that ever happen? That's why we know this whole alone thing is an illusion. And the faster that we can get into seeing that everything is us, everything belongs to us, we are everything. You don't even need to worry about it going anywhere because it can't go too far. Where are they going to take it? They only can put it back in you. So once you start doing that, then everything begins to metamorphosize. Like your reality begins to really shift. But that's why we go at it, mind, body, and soul, because I'm not talking about shifting one reality. That's why some people, they talk about these realities, right? And there's a lot of realities, but there's only one actuality. Remember we were talking about that, what's actually going on versus what we just think is going on, these realities that we create. And this is how things are. And it's okay, because we're going to be bringing a lot of truth to these realities to make them actual. So I could take your next question if there is one.
No, that was it. And I get it. Everything you said just clicked, and you ran into the other questions, and
awesome.
I got it.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and open up the line and give some other people an opportunity to call. I do appreciate you calling in, Kiera. It's love to see you that you've been involved with listening to the message for so long. And that obviously means there's massive growth that's taking place. So wholeness.
Wholeness, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to take this next caller from area code 615. Caller, you're on Astral Quest. And you're going to have to mute your line.
Hello.
Uh-huh.
Is it Sevan?
Uh-huh. Sir, you're going to need to turn off your the show really briefly, just so we don't get that.
Right.
Okay, great. So, wholeness, how can I assist you?
Yeah. So, what type of nutrition it goes along with the root chakra?
Mainly, you would need to figure out your stable. Meaning, stable to me is like, what is the core food that you're actually eating? And this is an important thing because obviously many people are sustaining themselves off of meat products. And that obviously is connecting right into why the root chakra in its unbalanced state is more powerful, because it connects directly into flesh. So what happens is that it's terrain modification. We're not telling people to quit cold turkey, even though there's some people who do have that type of will. Like once they hear that meat is actually decaying 5 seconds after you eat it, no carnivore really seasons or cooks its meat, we don't have the teeth to be eating meat, we don't have the system to process it, then all of a sudden, you know, it's almost like if I have this, let's say this new software program, but I'm still trying to put it into this old computer, how many times am I going to keep trying to load it before I realize, hey, this is not working? So with these more subtle states of consciousness, that's one thing, but the root chakra still has to be sustained. That's what the whole show is today about, right? It's like, well, are we going to stop eating meat and we're just going to basically fly off and float away if you don't have any real state of protein? Your bones and all that are going to get weak. And of course, that's also why the root chakra is connected to the bones in your body and all the things that are really hard. So you have to identify this super grain for yourself. For some people, it's quinoa. Some people, it's amarantha, I believe is the name. It's maybe a little bit different. What I'm using personally, what my diet pretty much goes like is, because remember, we spend a lot of time eating. And the reality is we eat a little too much. I think maybe a lot too much. I think everyone in health books always tell us that. But my balance is, because I still do work out, is I utilize a lot of these super grains that are ground up. Because remember, like when you get a good tri-color quinoa and you throw it into the Vitamix, it's going to grind down to that powder that we're calling protein. Some people don't even realize that it connects that easy. That brown rice, when you throw it into something like strong as a Vitamix and you grind it, it's going to come out as a powder, and that's what they're calling brown rice protein. So in this sense, you can make your own proteins by grabbing super grains, getting a nice mixture of it, and this is where you got to go back to the old forest side of yourself again. You know, you go to your beard side again. In the beard side, he's picking up acorns, nuts, different kind of sprouts off the ground, and he's drying that out. And then he's grinding that with old classic pestle and mortar, and then he's taking that powder and he's making a bread with it. Okay, so now the new guy, though, because you know the new guy just came in, he takes all of that, he can order it, he can do whatever, how he acquires it. It is always better for you to grow your own stuff, but crawl before you walk. Go grab the super grains, go ahead and grind them up, and then go ahead and make a nice little smoothie with them, because that's going to give you all, I mean, it's going to be so intuitive. There's going to be a connection between you and the grain right away. So, because that's what people don't understand also, is that this food, it has real food that's alive. It's basically got to either agree to transmute or be in fear. So notice how, like, animal is in fear. Like when a person is eating it, the fear from that meat is transferred to them because of the stage that meat was in when it left. This is even deeper in the whole level of mediumship. This is how you'll know this is true, because in mediumship, if you're trying to actually contact a person that's on the other side, you have to actually experience their death, because that was the last signature they left. So it's the same thing with the meat. You're eating signatures of the animal, imprints of the animal when it's in that stage. So it's also the same thing
along with the karma that comes along with it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's stacking it up, man. So you can imagine why. Like, I tell people, don't take it the other way with this information. Be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're killing us. Take it the other way. No wonder why no one's activated. So that means that the moment that we turn this whole system around, activation is guaranteed, because the opposite is already present. And surely the former exists before the opposite. So yeah, that's what you want to do. That's the advice I'm going to give you. Also, like I said, what I do in the morning, I get one of these shakes in. And there's a lot of stuff. There's ashwagandha, and we're going to go through episodes of this while we're doing the root chakra. We're going to go into the kitchen, get the camera fired up, and I'm going to take everyone through what's there. And then so you can see what to mix, you know, because you got your blue-green algae, and you don't even need a lot of this stuff. Some people imagine that they're going to be drinking a glass of this stuff. That's not how it works. You just, you know, a dab here, half a teaspoon there, you blend it up. And then, bam, you have your shake. And so what I do is I do this first round of shakes, just so I can give you the regimen really fast. Do this first round of shake early in the morning, because I really don't go with anything solid on the body before that time. Then the next round is I go with something like quinoa. I eat quinoa like a breakfast cereal. I soak it, and then I cook it. It sprouts, and then I eat it with some honey, some nuts, some mulberries, and almonds and raw almonds. The goal is that you just need to get these foods like almonds and things in the right stage. And also remember, some of this stuff has to be soaked because it doesn't release the enzymes until it's soaked. But we're going to go through all that, so just so you get the idea. So by lunchtime, I'm ready to have my major meal. And I'll tell people now that I'm actually eating egg yolks because I figured out that what's going on with the diet, especially when you move the meat out of the way, is that all these proteins are different. And there's a specific kind of protein for people who have a blood type that is used to getting this kind of animal protein. But the yolk does not need to be ingested. It's only the actual the white, because the white is actually what's feeding the yolk. Okay, so if you find that you're having problems getting on these veggie diets and you just, you're trying to either do that or nothing else, it's better for you to go with the yolk and sustain your body, especially if you have an active lifestyle, you work out and these kind of things, because even the protein that is in the quinoa does not satiate the system the same way as the protein that's in an egg. And that's just intuitive. I don't know, probably find it in some book somewhere, but that's exactly how it works. But my major meal, I'm eating around 12 or 1 or 2 in that area, because that gives my body at least 4, 5, 6 hours to completely digest that. And then if I'm lucky, I can just get another shake at the end of the night and be done with it. If not, maybe eat some light gluten-free pasta with some homemade tomato sauce with some basil and these kind of things, just basically keeping it light. Something that if you have an active root chakra, it's going to be like putting butter into a tree, what do you call it, a tree saw or whatever, the thing that, a wood chipper. Meaning that moment that you put that light meal in there, it's just already digested it within a few hours, or within a couple hours, within an hour.
Wow, a lot of the nutrients taken in.
Exactly. So that's what you're looking at, brother.
All right. Well, man, that's awesome, Wholeness, and thank you for taking my call.
Okay, Wholeness. All right, so we're going to take one more call here for anyone who wants to call in. I see we missed a couple numbers, but that's okay. There was a lot of information delivered on today's show. Obviously, I'm super enthusiastic. I want more shows to be like this and more. I got my good friend and comrade here with me today, Jason. He's in the studio. He's been the one working the switches. If you're wondering, well, this is an upgrade today. It's like it's not me doing 20 minutes of figuring out why we're getting echoes and things like that. And also being able to get these pictures to you, so a lot of this stuff makes more sense, especially while I'm talking about it, so you're not just looking at me all greased down because it's getting hot in here. And this is our last call from area code 234. You're on Astral Quest, maybe, because I'm trying to click open the line, but the computer is getting inundated. So we're going to take a moment here and let the computer sort itself out. As I was saying, they were talking about these computers got some potential to do something. These computers got potential to do nothing. Like nothing on a human being. Like they're barely hanging on. You get one human being, right, that really knows what they're doing. Even the fastest computer will be sitting there like still trying to process one of the tasks that is behind on. Like, don't let them fool you. Like, even some people thought, I think the resistance is too technological and blah, blah, blah. Man, we blew past all this stuff. We went and got the T-shirt. And we're now here. It's full organic organism. All is self. Everything is alive. Plastic is a lot more denser, though, but still contains an atom. And we can speed this thing up. Okay, so unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to take any more calls because the Skype is just doesn't want to do its thing. So I guess that's our indication that maybe it's just time for us to have our departure for now. When we get forward not next week, but the week after, we're going back into the Muladhara. We're going to finish it off. It looks like we're getting through this rather rapidly. I thought maybe we'd be here for about 2-3 months, but I have this intuitive feeling that maybe after either the next show or maybe one more after that, we'll be moving into the Manipura chakra, and then that's when it's going to get a little bit more interesting, as it always does. So wholeness and balance vibration, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you also everyone else that's been out there, that's been supporting, all those that are sharing the information, all those that have been supporting the resistance on multiple levels, Astral Quest, the Realm Dynamics, all the different platforms, but mainly in the concept of all of self, but beyond the concept, beyond the idea, the actual implementation and the action itself, looking at the individuals around you, all living organisms, and actually everything, because everything is alive, and having some in tune mutual respect in harmonic connection with it. And until we meet again, wholeness.